Hey guys, I'm back to give my really informal Hunger Games movie reaction slash review. As you may or may not know, I read the books about a couple years ago. It was in 2010, and I read them all like one after the other, very shortly after Mockingjay came out, which I didn't even know that it was so soon after the book came out that I got into them. But anyway, I've been looking forward to this movie for quite a long time because although the later books I felt neither of them, especially Mockingjay, matched, the brilliance of the first book, which is still my favorite. I was a fan of the whole series. Before I even get into my review, one thing that's really been annoying me through all the months of, trailers, previews, and news bites, and all that kind of stuff is Lionsgate is just touting it as the next Twilight. And I think they're the same company who does the Twilight movie, so of course I guess that makes sense that they'd want to bring up that name and stuff. But I'm really just getting sick of it because, as you also may or may not know, I really am not a fan of Twilight, and I try not to be a hater, but sometimes my rage gets the better of me. And I don't own the books, and I don't own the movies. I've read all the books, and I've seen all the movies except the last one, but I don't know, it just kind of annoys me because the same thing happened with Harry Potter. There was the wars of Harry Potter versus Twilight, now like Harry Potter and Hunger Games. The thing is, besides being like young adult literature or whatever, and Harry Potter, except for the later books, really wasn't even quite young adult. Even they're so different. No, they're not barely even remotely the same. It's not even a comparison because it's marketed for totally different audiences, especially Twilight and both of these, and they're not even aimed at the same people. So what it's like making the comparisons for these people, but it's like it's not necessarily going to be for the same thing, and it's about different stuff, and it's totally there's just no comparison. And I'm just sick of this, just annoyed that automatically, because you're a Twilight or a whatever fan, that this is going to be and maybe what they're just saying is it's going to be the next big franchise or whatever movies, and I guess I can kind of see that, but the comparisons are annoying me, and I'm just trying to just let it go. But I had to get that out there first of all. I saw the movie on Saturday morning. My friend got a ticket for me to go see it at an advanced screening that Wednesday night. But of course, I have my evening class on Wednesday that had just started a week before, because it's a half semester, like, short class. And so I couldn't really miss because it was only the second week, and, if stuff important came up, I couldn't do it. I was so mad that I had to wait those extra days. But whatever, it all worked out in the end. My overall thoughts on the movie is, as I knew it would be, it was really good. It was an incredible movie. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be one of my favorite movies of all time. Well, if you know what my favorite movies are, maybe I'll do a video on that someday. They're not necessarily what you would consider to be incredible or epic movies anyway. Hint, hint, they're Mrs. Doubtfire and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. So that's I don't necessarily look for greatness or epicness in my favorite movies, but on the whole, it was an incredibly well done, definitely well acted, well written movie, and I do have a few complaints, but they are definitely outweighed by the good things about the movie. All of the acting was wonderful. I cannot think of any actor who did not do their role justice. I know this is kind of weird, but when I was reading the books, I always pictured Jack Black as Haymitch. Just kind of like his look with like the beer belly and stuff, and I don't remember exactly how Haymitch was described, the exact words that Suzanne Collins used in the book, but I always pictured him, and it's weird because I never usually picture real people and or actors as characters in my head when I'm reading a book, but this was one exception. Like for all the other characters, I didn't have any specific person. It was just kind of my own image, and for some reason Haymitch was always Jack Black. So when I saw Woody Harrelson, that he was cast, and then when I actually saw pictures of him in character, I'm like, whoa, 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 this is not what I imagined. But he was excellent, as was the rest of the cast. Jennifer Lawrence was amazing, even though I do think that I found that she's only born in 1990, so she was probably only like 21 or so when, or 20 even when this was filmed. She's still, I feel, is a little bit too old. The guys, I think, were kind of close to the same age too, but it's okay. It was fine. They were all brilliant. Liam Hemsworth was good as Gale, but really, just like in the book, Gale is not a big part, especially in the first one at all, so he really doesn't have much to do, which is fine, because that's true of the book. Josh Hutcherson or whatever, the pita bread, as I always like to call pita in my head, is pita bread, was excellent as well. He, I almost feel like, was the closest to how I pictured the character in the book for some reason, and that I may just be totally reimagining that in my head now, like after seeing the movie, but he was really, I felt like, almost the true embodiment of PETA. Not that the others weren't, but for some reason he really sticks out to me. Overall, everything, like the look of the movie was excellent, especially when they show in the districts like District 12, where everything is like all, you know, poor living conditions and all that, and in the Capitol, all the really cool technology and stuff, and the costuming was amazing with their sense of fashion. Is like, it's kind of got some really vintage, or what we call now looks, but updated modern, with the makeup was really garish and ugly looking, but that is like what is considered to be beautiful by their standards. So I thought that was really interesting. One thing that I liked about the movie even more than the book was we're not limited to Katniss's perspective anymore, which is one of, you know, it happens whenever you have a book. It's usually not, you know, the omniscient narrator. It's usually focused on one or a few people, and, you know, obviously in the books it's Katniss. Here we get to see much more expanded view. We get to find out what's going on behind the scenes of the games as they're going on with like the game makers, and they're in their technology room doing stuff, which is really cool. Especially Seneca Crane is made into a much more expanded role than he is in the book, where you really don't see him, and you get to see his reactions with President Snow, and kind of makes more sense to his fate at the end after what goes on here. You also get to see, you know, some life in the other districts when you get to see the starts of the rebellion as the game are going on. You get to see Haymitch try to find sponsors and stuff, like show him actually working while the games are going on for Katniss and PETA, but mostly for Katniss's benefit, and all that kind of stuff, which I thought was really cool, especially knowing that Suzanne Collins helped with the script, like wondering exactly how much of this was from, you know, from her brain, like her input, and so if this is like the official version of exactly what was going on, I thought that was neat. But I have one really big complaint, and it's nothing original to me. Everybody has said it, and I didn't realize how true it was until I saw it. The shaky cam. The shaky cam is horrible. I thought I was gonna have a seizure or something. I obviously didn't. It's so bad, and I know why they did it, because they needed to keep a PG-13 rating, because they don't want to, you know, they would lose a lot of money if they had an R. They would lose a big chunk of their audience, but the way they thought to kind of tone down the violence would be by showing it with shaky cam, so you only kind of get little hints of violence and gore happening, because it's like this and it goes away and you can't tell, and you can't really tell what it is anyway, so it's not really that gory. And oh my god, I was getting sick. And in some places I thought it worked better than others. Other spots that I'm like, stop, please, just steady cam, just use a tripod, something. I can't take this anymore. The shaky cam was so bad. I couldn't stand it. It was making me sick. And a lot of people have said this too, and it really is true as someone who's seen it more closer to the middle center. Sit as far back as you can, and that should help you out. Also, tied into that was trying to be the restraint used on some of the gory scenes, which I do understand, but Rue's death, not her actual dying scene where Katniss is singing to her, I think that was beautifully done, and I did cry in the theater. It was wonderful, but the killing of Rue. In the book, it was something totally different. I don't want to... In the movie, it was made to look more like an accident, and you don't really get to see... It didn't... The death, like, the spear hitting her is what I'm saying without spoiling too much. It was made to look like it was not a deliberate thing, like it was meant for Katniss, and she just kind of got... It kind of lost the brutality of that scene. And again, I understand the reasoning, but those things just tied together really what bothered me. But really, other than that, I don't have any main complaints. If I see it again, I'll probably, as I usually do on re-watching this stuff, be able to pick apart some more specific details, being, you know, the purist and nerd that I am. But on the whole, I do recommend this movie. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Go watch it, especially if you like the Hunger Games books. Even if you haven't read the books, I would still recommend it, though I always try to read a book first before I see the movie. And one thing I do want to say is, if you're like me and you find Katniss extremely annoying in the books, the not being inside her head really works for the movie. I found her a much more likable and sympathetic character. Well, she was sympathetic in the books, but not... She was still annoying. I was not annoyed by her with not hearing her inner thoughts and interesting. I found her much more tolerable, and I was rooting for her more so than I was in the books. Because I didn't hate her in the books, I just got ticked off and just irritated with her. I thought she was annoying, but yeah, so if you're not a Katniss fan, you'll probably be like me and you'll like her a lot more in the movie. Great movie. Go see it. I'll see you guys next time.